Are we witnessing and undergoing a cultural rebirth? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because I think that we are, and that's what I want to talk about today. And this is going to be a very optimistic video, really. So for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. I don't know whether you've seen me before. My name's Dave. This is Roots of England, where I celebrate all things England and Englishness. And or if you're an existing subscriber, welcome. I would certainly love to hear your views on what I'm going to say here around the topic of a cultural rebirth. So why do I think that we are in the midst of a renaissance? And a renaissance of what? What's happening? Well, just to set some context first, you know, I don't sugarcoat things, or try not to. In fact, I would say that I'm a pretty grim realist in many ways. You know, the wider situation in society at large is not great. And for those of you who have been following me for a long time, you'll have watched quite a few of my videos where I outline some of the problems that we face as a society and why we've fallen so far. But you know, since the year 2020, when I think as a Western society we kind of crossed the Rubicon in many ways, and I'm not going to go into that now, but society fundamentally changed in a myriad of different ways, and there's certainly been some very severe repercussions that many people have paid. Now, that's still the context, the external world, and what's happened in this country, in England and the UK. And it's not just England and the UK, it's many other countries in the Western world. What's happened has been era defining, and it's impacted negatively so many different people in so many, as I say, in so many different ways. The fabric of the society has been kind of ripped apart in to a large extent. But what's also happened, and this is why I feel optimistic, is that for a lot of people, they've been called in some way to take some action, whether that's to speak the truth as they find it, or to create something of value, something that celebrates truth, or something that's beautiful, or something that's useful, or to solve a problem. Because our world, you know, our country has a myriad of problems that need to be solved. Now, I'm very much of the opinion that the best way to dismantle a tyranny is via individual dissidency rather than, you know, group action, which also obviously has its place. And also the best cultures, the most vibrant cultures, you know, are created and maintained by the gifts of lots of individuals within that. You're always going to have leaders, and you're always going to have pivotal figures, you know, who inspire. But I really do think that a rich culture, you know, has within that population of that society, of that country, there's a widespread yearning to celebrate what's great about that country, you know, and to create and to be a part of that culture. And what's happened in the last few years is I've called it before, kind of like a moral and intellectual counter-revolution. We could call it a renaissance of Englishness, you know, a renaissance of the values that previous generations held dear, and a creative impulse returning, you know, to a significant degree. And I guess this is just my perception, because when you're in the midst of something, you can't none of us properly understand where society's at the moment and what's happening within our country, But I just try and discern by kind of like the feel of things and by what I see, conversations are here, and also, you know, what I'm doing in my own way. This is my attempt with my Roots of England YouTube channel to offer something of value to people who it may chime with, who may resonate with what I'm saying. I try to, in my own way, to inspire others in my own way to celebrate the beauty that I see, you know, in this gorgeous country in which we live. You know, I love England, I love Englishness, you know, all is not lost. The dominant narrative, you know, generally within the psyche of people in this country is that society's fallen, the culture's been desecrated, and there's no hope. And it's tempting to get wrapped up in that because there's a lot of truth in it, but it's not exclusively true. You know, it's not. I know because I see it all the time, each day. The rural way of life in this country is holding as strong as ever. You know, despite vicious, insidious, relentless attacks. You know, many of the cities in the UK are not have fallen. You know, I don't recognise them. But you step out the cities and into, you know, the real England, really. You know, into the countryside. You see, it's still as beautiful as ever. It needs to be celebrated. It needs to be protected. And what I try and do is, in my own way, is to reinforce that idea, really, and to remind. We all need reminding sometimes that all is not lost. This is just my way of trying to do it. And what I'm trying to say as well is that I think there's a lot of people like me who've been called, or who've undergone like a reimagining, a reawakening of something deep inside that is spurring them on to create something. So what we're seeing is a lot of books being written. We're seeing things like a lot of podcasts and other YouTube channels like this. I also really feel as well that more and more people are returning to those activities that have always simple activities, you know, using our hands, making things, crafting things, creating, you know, because this is our world in the last 10 to 20 years, and certainly in the last few years, has undergone some such fundamental changes in terms of how we communicate with each other, in terms of what the kind of like the prevailing values are. You know, there's an atmosphere of kind of mediocrity and conformity, and all these types of values that aren't particularly inspiring, and have created an apathy and a sense of helplessness and a sense of hopelessness. And within that now is springing something new, is springing something fresh and vibrant. There are new ideas, and there are also people who are looking to those old values, those old ways of life, those old traditions and customs that form part of the culture that we still have, but it needs to be protected, celebrated, fought for in the right way. And always the most effective way to do that, this is my belief, let me know what you think, is if we have enough individuals within the society that yes has fallen into decadence, yes has fallen into apathy, yes has fallen into fear and this sense of hopelessness, but if we've got enough individuals within that, and I believe we do, who are, despite that, taking it upon themselves to create, to converse, to connect, and that's really important as well, isn't it? That instinct to pursue meaning, to find purpose, to find like-minded souls and to connect with them, to create community, real, thriving, meaningful community that cultivates a sense of purpose and belonging and hope. You know, we are social creatures, we need each other, and more than that, we need others who are like us. You know, as I say, my own personal values relate to kind of truth and, you know, believe in freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and I strongly believe in the idea of community. Now, on that note, something else, another real note of optimism is, I've talked in other videos about you don't have to look hard to see that there's a real movement towards creating these communities, these small local community groups. There's so many different groups that I see that are advertised, and I go to some myself. You see things like litter picking groups and nature walks and prayer groups, craft activities, social events. There's so many things taking place now, more than ever. That for me signifies and represents what I'm talking about here. It means that there are lots of people out there in society who are maybe feeling that sense of loneliness and disconnect, and a yearning and longing to reconnect, to find others, you know, to socialise around a shared passion. And also online, I mean, social media is it's a whole conversation in and of itself, isn't it? Did social media create much of the problems that we have in our world now, or did it merely expose what was the malady that we already had? Well, it's probably a bit of both, but certainly an argument to be made that social media has created a lot of problems and has played a part. It fundamentally changed the way that we communicate with each other. Now, there's a relatively new platform called School, which is a community building platform, and I have my own community on there, which is also called Roots of England. So if you're like me, if you're resonating with what I say now, if you love England, you don't have to be English, but if you love England, English culture, if you love the idea of community and proper conversation, then join us. Click the link in the description and join us. Join my Roots of England School community. It's totally free. We'd love to have you join us there. That is again, for anybody who's looking for some degree of hope, not only in the offline world, i.e. in the real world, are there those signs, real, tangible, visible signs, but also online. You know, School is a place for, you know, independent creators, entrepreneurs, just ordinary people with an interest in a particular topic to set up the community that they want to be part of. You can set up your own community that you want to see and grow it, and that's what I'm trying to do around my passion, as I say, which is England and Englishness. And I have lots of different ideas for where this channel's going to go, you know, in the next few weeks, months, etc. Continue to do my walk and talk nature videos, my walk and talk where I give my thoughts and reflections, visit different local historical sites and towns and villages, places of interest. I've got lots and lots of ideas, and see, it's this kind of thing, you know, I do think that there are a lot of people who are going to get lost and who are maybe become consumed by the worst excesses of this society, and you know, kind of strangled by the tentacles of the big corporations that prey on all of us, and fall into that apathy and into that sense of there's just no hope, there's no, you know, into that sense of despair and meaninglessness. Hard to say that. And that's the easy route. That's because, as I said at the start of the video, these are difficult times in which we live, and the hard decision, but the more bountiful one, and the one that's going to bring its rewards, and the more courageous one, I believe, is to decide to be a part, to play a part, and to play a pivotal role. Hello. Hi. In the reimagining of our country, of our society, and in the new creative movement, in the flourishing of ideas and of fresh new ways of interacting with each other, and of cultivating our society and our culture. So what I'm saying, just to end this video, is that absolutely all hope is not lost. Maybe there's an argument to make that maybe in order to bring about this creative impetus and this surge of people who are wanting to find and build and connect communities and people together, maybe the attacks needed to be so bad, for over such a long period of time to stimulate that to happen. It certainly has happened, and it's just going to grow and grow and grow. And yet you might need to look to find it, because it's easy to get dragged into the doom, into the fear, into the negativity. But you don't have to look. You don't have to look hard. You really don't. So that's my message really today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what I've just said. Do you agree? Do you see what I see? And what degree of hope do you have for the coming years in this country? Let me know your thoughts. Great as ever to speak to you. I'll be back with another video, hopefully not before long. Okay, bye for now.